I'm thinking that it's Chase, but it's actually this third-party person that's initiating Chase sending me the code that I'm in turn giving to the scammer. And in that moment, I was fished.
I'ma give it all I got, like grinding every day, ain't no other way.
Welcome back to Embrace the Grind, episode number 7. We're starting to get it rolling. The subs are starting to pile in. Andrew is back, my co-host. How you been, bro?
I'm good. I can't wait to get into it. We got a lot of good stuff today.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun episode. I think the theme of the episode is going to be about scams. I think it's something that's really important that we need to talk about. And if we can save one person from watching from getting scammed, this whole entire episode is going to be worth it. So make sure that you pay attention, maybe take some notes, because right now it's the wild, wild west. There's a lot of scams going on, and I kind of want to cover them so that people can be aware of them. But yeah, dude, 2,000 subs.
That's incredible. For only 6 episodes?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely happy with the growth of the channel. People have been giving us some good feedback, so that's amazing. And I actually just dropped a video on BitClout, which is the very first video that I've ever made that was like a highly produced video.
Those are my favorite videos, by the way.
Yeah, it wasn't even at all about poker. So it was fun for me to have that be my like first one and have people respond to it. You know, people were definitely watching it and liking it, and picked up some new subscribers. Somebody reached out to me on Instagram, and they wanted to talk to me about being in San Diego, and they loved my content, and they couldn't believe that I only have 2,000 subs. And I was like, well, I make poker content. And they're like, oh, I don't know anything about poker. So like we have a sub out there that doesn't know anything about poker that's subscribing to this. So that's kind of like...
That's speaking to growth right there.
Yeah, so now I'm excited about that. So so many things to get to talk about. Let's talk a little bit about BitClout, because if you haven't seen the video, I'm going to link it somewhere. But it's a very interesting concept. It's democratized social media that's supposed to be decentralized, and there were some questions that came up about the decentralization of it in my BitClout video when I did some digging. But this whole idea is kind of interesting, because right now, you know, we have 2,000 subs on YouTube, and we just got monetized on YouTube. So you're gonna get your first social media check at some point here. The social media dance over there. I'm imagining you probably pick up at least $5 an episode or something.
You know what? Beggars can't be choosers. I could take anything at this point. Poker's tough, so let's go. Let's go.
But that's actually kind of the point, is that YouTube decides how much that we make, and they decide how much ad revenue they're going to share with us.
They also can strike down your content. You've had that happen where they'll flag a video or they'll remove a video based on something, and you go and look, and there was no copyright infringement. There was no merit to take down.
I've actually never had an issue with my poker content, but I have had an issue with a song that an artist gave me permission to use. And then the copyright system gave me a strike and was like, you're using someone else's music. And I showed them, I sent a text message that was like, this is the artist saying that I'm allowed to use their music. They eventually cleared it, but the point is that there's nobody that's reading these messages at YouTube. Like Brad Owen is someone in the poker space, and he's been having a lot of issues with this, where YouTube just comes in and they're like, hey, by the way, your video is no good and you have a strike because of whatever reason. And then he emails them, and nobody actually reads the email, and they review it, and they're like, no, it's a strike. Yeah. So it's an issue. They can kind of do whatever they want. They can change the rates on what they're going to give people. And that's not to say that I don't love YouTube. I love YouTube because it helped me reach a new audience from scratch. I needed YouTube to be able to grow this community that I have in poker, and that we're starting to do with Embrace the Grind. And without YouTube, I would not have been able to do this. So I'm definitely grateful for that. But at the same token, not me, but huge creators have built YouTube, the Casey Neistats, and I don't know, who's some of your favorites?
I really like Mr. Beast, Mark Rober.
Yeah, these guys, if it wasn't, these guys are bringing so many eyeballs to YouTube. And YouTube, as a way of saying thank you, is sharing revenue with them. But, recently there's been things like YouTube Adpocalypse that have come and just kind of shined a light on it's not really fair. It's whatever they want. So this idea of BitClout democratizing, making it more of a democracy and making it more fair, is really interesting and intriguing, and I really wanted to like BitClout. I did. I like wanted to create my own Johnny Vibes coin, and like I wanted to have people buy it so that like they could invest in me when we have 2,000 subs with Embrace the Grind. You know, we end up growing this to hundreds of thousands of subs. Like they're gonna get paid because they invested early. You know, they're in the altcoin of Johnny Vibes and Andrew.
They're in the
Marino.
Dogecoin.
Yeah, they're the Doge basically.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, we need to get into Dogecoin in a second here.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I did some digging, and I don't think it's there's too many red flags. So I think I'm gonna sit this one out. But yeah, that brings us to Dogecoin, one of the biggest alts right now. Do you have any Doge?
I do not. No.
See, that's one of the problems is we surround ourselves with like really technically smart people who are like in the space. And when they do the fundamental analysis of Dogecoin and XRP, Ripple, and these, they're like, do not buy these under any circumstances. Yeah. Dogecoin is up like, I don't even know the percentages. It's like over 600% in like a few days or something. It's absolutely outrageous. Ripple like ripped off like maybe 200%. I'm not sure the exact numbers, but these are projects that were like, first of all, Dogecoin is just like a meme social media experiment pump and dump coin that Gen Z loves, right?
Yeah.
There's no like technical analysis or fundamentals that it's like you should buy this coin because it has utility and like we think that it's going to go up in value. So it's hard for me to, you know, tell people to buy that. By the way, anything in this episode is not financial advice, by the way. We have to start doing that now.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. It really is not. Yeah, this is just a conversation between two brothers about business, finance, scams, whatever.
Shiba Inus.
Shiba Inus.
Yeah, I'm a big dog guy. You know.
Oh yeah.
So I can get on board with the idea of Dogecoin being the meme coin. One thing I like about Doge that I didn't really consider is that Doge is a representation of social media. It's like a representation of hype and like people getting excited about things. And I think that it's really been a bridge for Gen Z and the younger social media generation to cryptocurrency. You know, maybe that's its utility.
Yeah, I could see some utility too, just when you say that. And like, you know, I think they use it on Reddit as that you can gift people Dogecoin. So, you know, it's kind of like a cool like currency for the social media where there's no real intrinsic value, at least not right now. But I can see how, you know, paying people or getting paid in Doge is like kind of a way of like connecting people and just having that fun experience of the cryptocurrency.
Yeah, which is something that like I totally underestimated.
For sure.
And like, you know, because every time we look at investing in an altcoin or Bitcoin or anything like that, we're very focused on the utility and what it can disrupt in the world, like how it can be revolutionary in a lot of ways. And when you looked at Doge, there's nothing that really we could point out to say like, this is why it's revolutionary. Until now, like I'm starting to get it. Like I'm starting to get why it could be revolutionary because it's the bridge from Gen Z to cryptocurrency. And then when we look at Ripple, the SEC was involved, and the SEC like basically is not happy about some of the inner workings. This is not going to be a very technical podcast, but essentially the SEC thinks that there's some illegal activities that went on with Ripple, so much so that Coinbase decided to delist it. And obviously Coinbase is like the biggest exchange that there is.
And they just went public and they're...
Yeah, let's talk about that too, but
yeah.
Do you have Coinbase? Do you use it?
I use Coinbase. And one side note about XRP is like I never even... So my friends that are in the crypto space, from the beginning, they kind of warned me about XRP. And the thing about it that they said to me that makes a lot of sense is that, you know, this cryptocurrency revolution is really to put the power in the hands of the people away from the establishment, decentralization. And XRP just, that's not the heart of the mission of XRP. So it's, you know, it kind of goes against, I think, what most people in the space want. So not to say that it couldn't be successful in how they want to do it, but it's kind of like for me, like, do I really want to buy Philip Morris or like whatever, you know?
Totally. Something that you don't really believe in or that
I don't really stand for.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that the pumping and the dumping of Dogecoin and the the pump up of XRP, a lot of these things could be nefarious. Like there could be some like insider information going on, some pumping and dumping, some manipulation of the markets. And this is like, since it's so new, cryptocurrency is so new, there's no real regulatory body over pumping and dumping of Doge. Like Elon Musk can go and tweet, buy Dogecoin, and people just flood in and do it. And there's nothing illegal about that right now. It's like the wild, wild west. We're living in an insane time. So I want to actually talk about that a little bit later in this episode. Basically, the ability to scam and be scammed in today's climate is something that is like more prevalent, I think, because of all this wild, wild west that's going on.
And new technologies.
New technologies that people don't understand. So make sure you take some notes in this episode, because I think that it could, if we save one person from getting scammed in this episode, it's going to be worth it. So we're going to highlight some scams later on. But I do want to talk about some current events like the Coinbase IPO. Did you hop into that at all?
No, but I did, again, get a lot of my information from Reddit, and I saw that people were saying that it went way over, it's way overvalued right now. And it really, Coinbase themselves say that their value a lot of times is based on the value of the cryptocurrencies. So when crypto is getting crushed, Coinbase really suffers, and their revenue really, really suffers. So, that's a concern for people, and their valuation, what they're currently at is, I think, astronomical. So I think a lot of people are thinking that it's too high and hoping that it will come down and potentially invest.
I'm going to stay away. I think that, like you said, the value of Coinbase in general is so closely tied with the cryptocurrency market. And right now we are in an unprecedented bull market that is just out of control. And this is the time when Coinbase is going to be the highest value. Of course, this could continue for a while, but the cryptocurrency market, while young, has experienced cycles just like any other market, and we can be expecting another cycle to come that's going to hurt earnings on Coinbase. So I feel like Coinbase is like a peak type time right now for them. So it's great, and I love that Coinbase is bringing mainstream attention to the cryptocurrency market. I love that Dogecoin is bringing mainstream attention to the cryptocurrency market. But I'm going to sit it out as well because, there's a number of reasons. But for those reasons that I mentioned, like if we're in a cycle that's a bear market, the number of transactions that would occur on Coinbase are like more than a third, basically 1/3 of what occurs now. Like right now, this is based on data that I've read. So 1/3 of your financials cut is insane. So that's another reason why I want to stay away from it. And another reason is when I buy stock in a company, it's kind of like what you were alluding to before. That's kind of my stamp of approval, saying like I use this and I kind of believe in this, but I don't really use Coinbase. Like I think that there are much better trading platforms that offer more tools with lower fees. And so me personally, like it would be, I own a Tesla, right? It would be like me buying stock in Ford when I'm so in love with like the product of Tesla, but I'm buying stock in Ford because it's like a bigger car company.
Yeah, but at the same time, FOMO is real, and Coinbase is kind of at the forefront of cryptocurrency in the public eye. So all the people at home they make it very simple. The interface is great. Like it's very easy to connect to your bank account directly. For me, it's a Wells Fargo. Boom, the transfer is done, no problem. So I think the potential upside is really scary big. So, I think that's the kind of thing that gets people really excited, is this thing could blow up. This Coinbase they could become the exchange, kind of the like.
Well, they kind of are the exchange at this point.
But they could become like the New York Stock Exchange, like the big one that everyone uses.
Yeah.
And people are kind of like if that happens, then this valuation, these people could 20x their money from now, or 50x, or whatever the sky. In crypto, we tend to think a lot about the moon, and it pulls us in. I recently just bought Cardano at an all-time peak, and I was like, this thing is mooning, I need to get in, so even myself, I fall victim to that.
My concern though is that why would I invest in a product that I personally don't think is the best product on the market? Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with Tesla. Is like, once I drove a Tesla and felt like the autopilot, and never had to go to a gas station again, and started cutting my energy costs by crazy, and once they started becoming an energy company and not just a car company, these are all things that are not only disruptive, they're paradigm shifts, and something that I thought, even though Tesla isn't the largest manufacturer of cars, and even though they're not the biggest energy company and they're not supplying the grid with the most energy, I was all in on the revolution. I'm all in on the disruption to those industries. But I don't think that Coinbase is necessarily, at this point, is a disruption to the cryptocurrency industry. There's so many other companies that are very similar in the products that they provide, and the service that they provide, and the ease of use. So one of the reasons why I'm going to be sitting out on Coinbase, but I love that it DPO'd, and I love that people are excited about it, and I love that it's bringing mainstream attention.
Well, for your sake, I hope you're right, because if you're wrong, you'll be one of those people on the sidelines, but that's the risk that we take. We can't invest in everything.
One of the things that we should talk about right now too is it's not just Doge, it's not just Ripple, but the entire cryptocurrency market is exploding. It's you literally can't go wrong right now. Everyone thinks that they're a genius at this point because
it's April 2021, just for reference.
Yes. So every time I put money in an altcoin or Bitcoin or anything, it goes up by a lot. And I don't know what I'm doing. And a lot of people that think that they know what they're doing don't know what they're doing. There's, kids, 20-year-old kids that are, making so much money off of Dogecoin and making so much money off of cryptocurrency that they're getting this false sense of feeling that they actually know what they're doing. And it's dangerous, but fun, but scary, all wrapped into one. I'm a little bit concerned about people. The good thing is a lot of these people are young, and if they get hurt, they'll be able to recover. But the FOMO and the excitement is also causing people to get scammed. The recent scam that happened recently to one of my friends, he was really pumped up about this project. I don't even remember what it was, but it had a Telegram channel. And he posted in the Telegram channel, how do I get access to a pre-sale or something? And then he got added to another Telegram channel because his settings were as such that he was able to get added without his permission to a group. And then all of a sudden, he was getting a lot of messages in this channel, and he didn't realize that he was in the fake channel. Somebody had added him, and now he's in this fake Telegram channel with this fake altcoin.
Oh, wow.
So, and they're having a pre-sale. So he got scammed for, I want to say, $35,000 in ETH, something like that.
And that's just at the current value, or whatever value it was at the time.
Yeah,
that could end up being much more, and likely will.
Exactly. And Telegram is a very scary place for scamming. Anytime you're on a platform that's text-based, like WhatsApp or Signal or Telegram or Messenger, you don't really know who you're communicating with.
And that's a pretty sophisticated scam. I mean, we oftentimes think about a lot of these scams being these Nigerian princes that want to, if we give them some small amount of money, they're going to be able to return it, millions of dollars or whatever the original email scams were. But nowadays, I mean, that's a totally reasonable, I'm thinking I could get scammed in that way. I'm okay, I'm part of this this Telegram or this Discord where they're all talking about this thing, and I get added somehow like on a back channel, and then I don't even realize it, and everything looks and appears the same, and people are like, yeah, we're buying it now, and like we're doing the pre-sale, and I'm like, great, sure, send my money.
Yeah.
Very, very reasonable.
Yeah, I've been the victim of Telegram scamming. I thought that somebody that was reaching out to me was Christy, and it wasn't Christy, and I was busy, so I just didn't even pay attention and sent money, and money got exchanged, and it was like my fault because like I didn't. It's just, you know, it wasn't a ton of money, but it was enough to make me realize that it's like so easy to get scammed nowadays with all these things going on. And which is why I kind of want to talk through some of these scams so that people have just like in the front of their mind that they really need to assume everything is a scam. You know, like we've grown up in this era where we're kind of on our guard already. And the fact that I could get scammed on Telegram, even though it was a small amount, and like my friend who's pretty savvy can get scammed for a huge amount, like that speaks volumes because I'm not an easy person to scam. Like I've grown up thinking everyone's trying to scam me. So when we think about our parents, like, can you imagine someone calling dad and telling them like, you know, whatever?
Yeah.
Like I just worry about the older generation. So number one piece of advice, think that everything is a scam.
Guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah.
I recently put this poor guy on he was reaching out to me about a charity, and I had previously donated to them, and sure enough, you know, the guy calls me and we go through the whole process. I'm like, great, yeah, let's restart the donation. And then when he sends me over to give my credit card information, it was this robot voice, and I just thought it was a scam. So then I didn't enter in the credit card, and I went back and forth. The guy was like, you didn't enter in your credit card number, and I was like, you're trying to scam me. I went back and forth, and this poor guy's like trying to save the world. It's like an environmental charity, and I'm like grilling this guy, and like and then long story short, it wasn't a scam, but I think it is important to kind of have that mindset if you have your suspicions.
Yeah, the entire altcoin market, the cryptocurrency market has been, you know, creating all these opportunities for, you know, people just FOMOing and just firing off money like they know that it's gonna just return them 2x, 3x, 4x. And it kind of reminds me of, I'm a little bit older than a lot of, you know, I mean, I'm just barely older than you, but I was alive I was like in the workforce during the .com bubble, the .com boom. And that was when I was starting to like invest my money. It was my first taste of the stock market. I remember my grandpa was like teaching me paper trading you know, I was in high school, and the .com, like everything was like Alta Vista was going public, and like 6xing the money on the first day, and like things like this, Sun Microsystems, Cisco, like all these Microsoft, all these companies, Yahoo. And everybody was just making so much money that when a new company started, all they needed was the domain name. It could have been 123abc.com with no business plan, but if you own that domain, it was the time and place where you could raise hundreds of millions of dollars and just on a name. And it kind of reminds me of what's going on with the altcoin market right now.
There was just quick on that. It reminds me when we used to live at Sky, we were living at these condos in Vegas, and there was this really sweet door guy, and you just kind of get to know a lot of people, especially when you have a dog. We were taking the dog out all the time. And yeah, over time, I got to talking to this guy, and during the .com era, he was a millionaire. He had millions of dollars in his bank account, millionaire, and was investing a lot of these, yeah, and was investing a lot of this money, and went broke, completely broke, from millions and millions of dollars down to nothing.
Yeah, that .com area like created a lot of day traders. People were quitting their jobs and just day trading. And when the entire market is going up, it's easy to day trade. You just like buy, sell, buy,
it goes up,
sell,
it went up.
Buy, sell.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening with like all these kids nowadays. They're just like buying and it's going up. And then they're selling and they're like, I'm a genius. But like a lot of them don't even know what they're buying. And like a lot of these tokens that are coming out and these new cryptocurrencies are just Ponzi's. Everything's supposed to have a utility, right? And there was this one recently where Signal, the owner of Signal, it's a messaging app. He wanted to create a token for Signal, for payments for Signal. So they like went with mobile coin. Turns out he has like ties to mobile coin. So it's like all this like, now like he could get in big trouble. But basically Signal didn't need a coin. They could have like incorporated Bitcoin with like lightning payments. Like everybody's creating a coin because they think that it serves some utility and they think that it's gonna like make them rich. But to be honest, there are so many altcoin projects right now that you probably don't need to create a new project because there's already a project or multiple projects that are attempting to do this thing. So I don't think that the altcoin market is sustainable, and I think that it's going to end in tears for a lot of people, especially young people.
I did want to speak on one thing that you said, which I think is so tremendously important, which is to know what you're holding. Just like if you want to buy something because everything's going up, great, and good luck to you, and you'll probably do well. Just know what it is that you're holding. And the reason why like it strikes a chord with me is when I first started investing in crypto, Ethereum, Bitcoin, these things, I had no idea. This was before a lot of people knew what cryptocurrency was. And so I just bought it at the request of like the smart people in my circle, and so I was holding it. And then when I had a significant amount, and this was, I would be doing very well if I would have kept all this money, which I didn't. But yeah, so basically what happened is one of the big crashes in crypto after everything went up.
Late 2017.
Yeah, I sold everything.
Yeah.
All my Bitcoin, all my Ethereum at bottom.
Yeah.
And the reason why I did is because I had no idea what it was that I had. And so then when it started going back up again, I was okay. And these people that I know, they were smart. So then I really dove in and was like started to understand the technology and the projects and like the long-term vision of it. And then I said, okay, so then when I bought back in, I realized that this wasn't something that was going to go to zero. And I thought it could go to zero because I thought it could be like a scam coin, or I thought it could be, just some whatever little project that's just going to get crushed.
Which is really interesting because that's the whole psychology of FOMO and like buying high and selling low. Like FOMO causes us to want to buy when it's going up because we're like, oh my gosh, everybody's making so much money and I'm missing out. Fear of missing out is FOMO. So people end up buying at peaks and when it's going up, and then the psychology of when it's going down is, oh my gosh, I'm getting crushed. Like I need to sell before I like lose too much money. And those psychology things cause us to do the exact opposite of what we should be doing. We should be buying, if we believe in what we're buying, we should be buying when it's going down, because essentially it's like a sale. It's like walking into, Best Buy and all of a sudden like all of the Xboxes are just like, they're slashing prices and the prices are going down and you're just like, oh my God, I need to sell my Xbox. It looks like Xboxes everywhere are becoming worthless. Yeah. No, you wouldn't do that. You would buy the Xbox because you're like, oh my gosh, there's a sale going on. Like, let me buy this Xbox. Yeah. And then when it's like worth like, a ton of money, then you should be like, why are people paying so much for an Xbox right now? Like, I'm just gonna sell mine because like people are being irrational at this moment.
One of my good friends in the Bay Area, a guy I played poker with, super nice guy. I've actually been talking to him about some financial things. He, when Tesla, this is probably 4 or 5 years ago, he's very researched, very studied on it, and just kind of went all in on it. And then every time it went down, he just piled in more. And he did that over and over again. And I remember so many times people at the poker table, because in Silicon Valley, people have like very polarizing opinion of Tesla. And people used to tease him. They would come in and like there was a couple big times where Tesla got hammered. and he particularly lost a lot of money. People are like, Tesla's going to zero. I told you, da da da. And you know, being able to like be confident in your research and who you are, and even in those tough moments where people are making fun of you openly and they know that you've lost a huge percentage of your money. And I just think about it now, and you know, he's laughing all the way to the bank and doing quite well. But yeah, know what the fuck you have. It's just important.
Yeah, and understanding the psychology of FOMO and the psychology of, you know, the downswing. So this is actually, now I want to get into the scams that I've done a little bit of research. I wrote some down so that we can have some structure with this, and so I don't forget some of these scams. But first and foremost, you know, we both play poker, and we've played for a long time. So we deal with money. We've bought and sold cryptocurrencies. We've been in the stock market. So we're prime for scam targets. So we've seen our fair share. You know, I've given money to people at the poker table and never saw it again. Something that happened to me as well. A phishing attack, a phishing scam. Phishing is basically tricking me into thinking that you are a customer support person and you're here to help me. And this happened about a year ago, and I'm not proud of it, but I was phished by someone who called me, and they said, "Hi, I'm looking for Johnny Marino." I'm like, "Oh, this is him." And they're like, "We're calling in reference to your card that ends in blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's my card." First of all, we need to verify a few pieces of information. First, is your first name Johnny, last name Marino? Do you live at this address? And I'm like, yes. They know everything. They knew everything. They're like, your card number is this. I'm like, yeah. So like the fact that they knew everything about me already made me think.
Put your guard down.
Yeah, put my guard down a little bit. And they said they were from the fraud prevention department. We're from the fraud prevention department at Chase. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Like now I'm on guard. Like, who's trying to get me? You know? And they're like, were you at Ross in Phoenix, Arizona, and spent $374.54? You know, I'm in Joshua Tree at this point. I'm like, no. I'm like, who's doing this? Like, who's got my card?
Yeah. So now your attention's already focused somewhere else too.
Yeah. And they're like, what about 7-Eleven where you spent $47.16? I'm like, no, I don't. No, I have a Tesla. Like, I don't get gas. You know, like, like, what do I need to do to convince you that like I'm not this guy? They're like, all right, it looks like you've been hacked. Like somebody has your credit card information. We're going to need to shut down your card and issue you a new card. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do that. Let's shut down my account. And they're like, all right, before we do that, we're going to need to send you a push notification to verify your identity. It's coming from us here at Chase. And I'm like, okay. So they send it over, and I look, and it's in the same text message thread that I've received push notifications from Chase before. And it says like, this is Chase, whatever, your code is this. So I give them the code over the phone, and in that moment, I was phished. I gave them a code that allowed them to tie my credit card, because they already had my number. They just didn't have my credit card. They had my number and they had the expiration date and they had everything. I don't know how they got that, maybe through like an Equifax hack or some sort of hack, but they had all the information already. What they did was they added that card to an Apple Pay so that they could go into like wherever, and when it's time to pay, they could just Apple Pay it and not need the card present, because now it's tied to their Apple Pay. So essentially what I did was I enabled my credit card on their Apple Pay account.
With the verification code that was sent to you from Chase. Chase was like, hey, someone's trying to like add this card. Is that you? And you were like, this is me. And you like gave that code to those people.
Yeah.
And they were able to then say that was them.
So the scammer, once they had me hooked, they typed in my phone number to the Apple Pay thing, the Chase thing. And Chase now, the real Chase, sends me the code. I'm thinking that it's Chase, but it's actually this third-party person that's initiating Chase sending me the code that I'm in turn giving to the scammer. And then they enable their Apple Pay. They go into Costco and spend $1,000, perhaps on a TV. Like, I don't know what they were buying, but they spend like over $1,000. And luckily, my credit card company blocked the Apple Pay charge because I have never ever used Apple Pay to buy something, let alone spent over $1,000 using Apple Pay. So Chase thought it was suspicious and blocked the checkout. They didn't approve the Apple Pay purchase. And then I got a call from Chase 5 minutes after, 10 minutes after maybe 30 minutes after I had given away my code.
You're like, you guys just
And they're
sent
like-
me a text. You guys are just talking to me.
Yeah, they're like, hey, did you authorize a charge at Costco for like $1,100?
You're like, you just called me. Didn't
I'm
you
like,
just do this?
Yeah, we just went through this like 30 minutes ago. What are you guys talking about? And they're like, no, sir, this is the first time that we've been calling you. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, the person that called you before phished you and scammed you, and you gave them a code. So now I'm like, wait.
You're like, are you the actual real one, or is that the fake one? Or like maybe at this point your head's probably like spinning.
Yeah, exactly. But luckily, luckily it was blocked, and I didn't lose any money throughout the whole ordeal.
I think that's a really good one to also put out there, because yeah, that's one I could definitely see myself falling for, especially. Yeah, it's very reasonable.
We never know how they get our credit card number.
Yeah.
I actually had one thing that kind of tipped me off when they asked me, they're like, we'll send you a new card in the mail to your address. They gave me an address from before that I used to live at. And I was like, oh, no, I have a new address. And they were kind of like, oh, okay, that's fine. And I'm like, well, they're like, it'll get forwarded. And I'm like, no, I want to make sure that I get it. So let me give you my current address. So they're like, okay. And I'm telling them the address, and they don't care. They're just like,
the guy's playing Xbox.
Yeah. So I think the lesson here is that if you get called, that's kind of what we talked about before. If you get called, immediately assume that it's someone fishing for your info, and hang up. And if you want to call them back, just look up the number for Chase and call the number directly yourself. Kind of the same thing happens with emails. You know, recently, like I want to say a week ago, I got an email that said, this email is for Johnny. We know, in fact, that you use this password for a lot of your things. And this is before I had a password manager. I did used to use this password a lot. I don't use it anymore for anything. So I was like, oh, they must have like hacked some account that I had some long time ago with that password. And they're like, if you don't send us Bitcoin, we are going to expose you because we have been watching you on your webcam and we know like things about you. And like, I just deleted the message, but like,
yeah. But it was kind of alarming that they knew your password, so that's kind of the hook for people, right?
That's the hook for a lot of people, and like, I obviously kind of am used to these kinds of things, but I can see an older person falling for it, or someone that's not quite as email savvy falling for it, like, you know, my grandmother, for example, you know.
One that I recently came across was, I recently upgraded my crypto wallet to the Nano Ledger X from the S, and one of the things that is pretty common, actually, a way to get scammed, is that people go and they buy a ledger, which is just a cryptocurrency hard wallet, and they get it, and then they set it up, and then they put their funds on it. The problem is when you buy it on a site that's not the actual Ledger website, you run the risk. It doesn't mean that it will happen, but you run the risk that somebody has already set the wallet up and already recorded the recovery phrase. So when they have that phrase, then they have access to your funds.
Yeah.
So what they recommend is that when you set up your wallet, so if you buy a wallet and it shows up, you have to make sure that the recovery word phrase is being set up by you. So if it's already in place and you can see that it's already been accessed, then you know that whatever funds you put on there will be taken.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's for a first-time person setting up a wallet, they might just type in like Ledger into Google and like see it on Amazon from like a reseller.
Mm-hmm.
And this reseller could just be selling them already set up wallets.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden now they get the first time ever using Ledger, they open it up and they're like, this is your seed phrase, write it down. You write it down. And then like, what is your PIN? You do your PIN. Now send the coins to your wallet. Meanwhile, the seed words are something that you should have generated on your own, but a lot of people aren't going to know that.
Yeah.
They're just going to follow instructions and be like, oh, these are my seed words? Okay, cool. Let me, it's like, it's,
And that's so tough because people store a lot of money on those things. They think it's the safest, and it really is probably the safest way to store your crypto. So I can imagine some of the sums people have been taken for with that scam.
another scam that I did recently, because I moved into this place pretty recent and was kind of doing a purge, wanted to minimalize things a little bit, so sell some things on OfferUp in Facebook Marketplace and things like that. So put some things up for sale on OfferUp and started getting messages about, is it still available? Yeah, it's still available. How much? A little back and forth.
Yeah, the normal stuff.
And then they're like, well, then they message me, I've been dealing with a lot of scammers on OfferUp. Can you give me your phone number so that I can verify that I'm talking to like a real person and not a scammer? So I'm like, okay, sure. So I give them my phone number. And then my phone number gets a push notification that's like, I don't even remember what it said. It was like verification of like non-bot. I don't remember. It was like, it was a code. And then they messaged me back through OfferUp and they're like, did you receive a code? And I was like, yeah. They're like, what's the code so that you can prove that like that's really your phone number? And I'm like, I'm not gonna just give you a code that gets push notified to me. And like, I could see someone falling for this.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I don't remember what the code was for, but like the code essentially is giving them access to something that's tied to your phone number.
See, these are the ones that like really bother me. I mean, so many of them bother me, and I think it's okay to have a little bit of fun sometimes too. So I know I'm not the only one here. I like a lot of my friends, they've done similar things where you kind of give the scammers a runaround, right? Like you kind of waste their time or whatever it is. And I was similarly, I was selling something on OfferUp, and I had just had enough because I was we were moving and I was trying to sell a lot of things, and there was so many scammers. And I recognize like when you wrong people on the internet, so if I like came at them, I didn't want them to have my identifying information. I didn't want them to have my real phone number, my real photo, any of that stuff. So then finally I just said to all the scammers, I was like, okay, sure, here's my number. What I did is I downloaded a burner app. So I had this burner number on it's just a phone number that I could access on my phone. And I had 30 people message me, and then so I said, yep, here's my number, boom. So then when they sent me their scam or whatever, I just played along. I was like, yeah, okay, great. Okay, I'm sending it now. And then so then I sent it, and I sent it to all the people. And I just sent them a dick pic. I sent them a micro-peen dick pic. And then I just went on to just like troll them with it. And I just wanted to like, I don't know.
Just fight back a little bit.
This was my, like, I'm fighting back with a penis, a very small one. And, you know, I didn't want to, like, if I sent it from my real number, you never know how worked up people can get.
Yeah.
Then they find out your name and where you live and this and that, and then who knows, but.
This is what we alluded to earlier. Anything that we say on this program is not financial advice, nor advice otherwise.
Yeah, don't use penises, small or large, to get justice. It's not recommended or advised.
Another scam that I wanted to bring up is the social media comment scams. For instance, Twitter. I notice when people have like an issue on Twitter, they'll post like, my Venmo got hacked, right? I've been seeing that a lot from the poker players on Twitter. And what people will do in the comments of those, they're like, oh, my Venmo got hacked too. This is how I was able to fix it. And then they want that person to contact them, another phishing scam. Now they're like helping them get their funds back when really they're just trying to fish them for more information. Another thing that happens is YouTube comments. If I post a video on my Johnny Vibes channel, or you know, somebody who has like a lot of influence is like maybe has and like sells products or something, and or perhaps courses, in the comments, there will be people impersonating the actual creator of the video. So if it's a Johnny Vibes video, there'll be a comment from an account that says Johnny Vibes, who has my exact same picture, that's like, hey guys, message me on Telegram if you want to, have like cheaper access to my course. I don't have a course, but like whatever. And then a link to like a Telegram. And then people will think it's the real me, and they'll click on it, and now they're communicating with a scammer offline that everyone thinks is me, they trust me. So the social media comment scam is another dangerous one.
It happens on Twitter. I see it on Twitter. It's on YouTube. Yeah. All the platforms, honestly. People
impersonating it's a massive problem, and YouTube doesn't even really have a good way of catching these people or like stopping it. Even if YouTube verified me and gave me like a blue check mark, most people won't even think about that. Like they won't realize, oh, this one account doesn't have a blue check mark next to it. Maybe I should think about it. They kind of just look at the picture and look at the name and think that it's all good. Another one that I read recently that was kind of scary, a Trezor, which is another hardware wallet, like similar to Ledger. They have a phone app that you can store your private key information for your cryptocurrencies on your phone app. And the way that you access this is you go into the App Store and you download the Trezor app and you just follow the directions through the app. Well, someone created a fake Trezor app that had the same icon, spelled the same, even had reviews that they had like batched and put up there that Apple just missed. So now there's two Trezor hardware wallets on the App Store, one of which is fake, it was a scammer, and one of which is the real thing. And it's unfortunate that Apple didn't catch this. They'll eventually catch it, but like how many people are gonna get scammed in the meantime? Now there's people that lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more, by downloading the fake app, moving coins from like, let's say Coinbase, over to this fake Trezor app, which is actually just depositing them into a scammer's account. And how do we ask people to not fall for this one?
I mean, and the other thing about it is, you scam one person, 2 people, 3 people, the amounts of money that people hold on these wallets are ungodly sometimes. Who knows, how much money you can get from one. So the incentive is just really there. And what I've seen a way to make sure that you don't get scammed is when you go into the App Store, you can look and see, it'll say 100,000 reviews, 9,000 reviews, 10,000 5-star reviews. If the Trezor, the way that you would be able to see it is one will likely say 7,800 4.5-star reviews, the other one will say 12 reviews, 200 reviews, whatever, fake reviews, how many they have. So one will be a lot of reviews and one will be not many.
Definitely. It was, we covered a lot of scams, and there are so many more out there that I didn't even get to. There's a couple channels on YouTube that I like watching where a guy like essentially did what you did to try to like get the scammers back, except his is a little more sophisticated. He captures their IP, and then he's even been able to hack their webcams so that he can take a picture of the scammer and then send it to them and kind of scare them. It's a fascinating, scary time in the world because we're living in the cryptocurrency digital revolution right now. And I don't think that people should be sitting on the sidelines. I think that they should be getting involved because, the 30-year-old boomer, and I don't use that in a derogatory term, I'm using that in like the literal term, that generation, the baby boomer generation, when they were 30 years old, they were out of college with minimal debt. They had a burgeoning industry that was, available to get jobs in growing emerging markets. They had real estate that was underpriced that they could buy and just sit on and make lots of money on. It was a time for them. I mean, you really had to like really mess it up to be a boomer, 30-year-old boomer with an education. and not become wealthy by the time you were 65, you know. But the 30-year-old Gen Z person, millennial, they don't have that. You know, we inherited a real estate market that is at the peak. That, I mean, I don't know, it can go higher, I guess, because we're not making any more land, but the opportunity to make a ton of money through just like buying real estate and sitting on it isn't there like it was for them. The opportunity to graduate from college without being 6 figures in debt with an education isn't there for the 30-year-old millennial Gen Z person. I don't know if I'm using the term right, but the more recent 30-year-old. So I feel like this is our opportunity. The digital revolution is our opportunity to actually establish some wealth in our life. So I'm excited about the disruption that cryptocurrency is offering our generation and younger. And I think that if you are out there thinking about getting involved in cryptocurrency, you know, don't take my word for it. Do your due diligence, do your research. There are plenty of channels on the internet, on YouTube that I trust, that, you know, I might even link them in some of the comments, where you can start to go down this path of doing research and understanding that the use cases of cryptocurrency, while in its infancy right now, we don't even know, you know. There could be all these use cases that we haven't even thought about yet that are coming, that I think that it would be a shame if you're a young person right now, if you're not getting involved in this whole landscape and this whole market. So if you take anything away from this show, first of all, I would assume that everyone's a scammer. That's the first thing to take away from this show. And second of all, I would say that our path to wealth is not the same path that our parents' path was, or our grandparents' path was. So when you're getting advice from an older person, I would take it with a grain of salt, because what they did isn't necessarily what's possible for this generation, this younger generation. And the best way to really figure that out is doing your own research and just like pouring through the opportunities that cryptocurrency has to offer. And really like being careful with FOMO.
Yeah, that's a big one.
I've been victim to the FOMO thing, and, you know, the psychology of selling at a low point as well. So, and the other thing I wanted to mention is that I'm going to be headed to Texas next week. So by the time this comes out, I'll be in Texas, getting back into the live poker streets. It's been fun. Played on Live at the Bike last night. Yeah,
it's good. I feel like it's something I haven't done in a while. I'm looking forward to it when the time comes.
So Live at the Bike, California's a little weird. We had like the silos. We were in a plastic, basically, enclosure on all sides of us, and even in front of us. But I could still hear people talking, and we were still holding chips, and it felt like live poker. But it's definitely different. Texas, they don't have that. You just have to wear a mask. So it'll be the closest to live poker that I've played in quite a long time. The other thing that I wanted to bring up before we close this out is I started a WSOP points league that I'm running through Club GG, and it's a no-rake environment, so people have the opportunity to generate points through a weekly tournament, and then have their potentially their dream bucket list of playing in the WSOP main event realized by scoring enough points to be in that. And even if they don't score enough points, they'll get a piece of the person that we do send to the main event.
Those things are so cool. I've played in the main event every year, other than, I guess they didn't have it last year, for quite a while now, last 10 years or so. And I've had the pleasure of playing against some of the people that have been put in. And I remember I played one year, and it was a younger guy, and he was so grateful, and he was beaming, and we were on the money bubble, and he ended up cashing, and it was great. And then another year, I remember being seated next to this older gentleman. He must have been in his late 60s. And he was so sweet and so kind, and he'd never been in a poker room. And so you get all types. And I will say that old guy, he was a beast, man. He gave me so many problems. I barely made it through day one with this guy. His just sizings were huge. He was all over the place. He didn't care. He was having so much fun. And at the end of the day, I was like super frustrated and annoyed at this guy. But I like, you know, it was really great to see. And his wife was there, and she like, he wanted to take a picture. It was like that whole, and then he has all of his friends that you don't see there. They're all rooting behind him. So that whole thing, having an opportunity to do that, and I think it's going to be really good.
I mean, it's been 1 week, and we're planning on doing this for 25 weeks. It's been 1 week. We've already raised close to $3,000 for sending someone to the main event. So
you're going to have a lot of seats, it sounds like.
If you do the math, I'm going to end up being in Vegas handing out like $75,000 in buy-ins for the main event. But the main event is just something that if you're a poker player, you just have to experience. Like, we've both been in this game for so long, you know, combined 30 years in this game, and there's nothing like being in the main event. You know, I've cashed it 4 times, and that feeling of making it to the next day, surviving it all in, it's just, you can't bottle that, you can't explain it, and it's something that I'm addicted to, and that's why I want to play the main event every single year. And you've had the opportunity to really go deep, and I can't imagine.
Some of the things that, like, why it's really great for amateurs to play the main event, 2 big reasons are, one is that the dilution of professional poker player to amateur is so big in the main event. So you might have like 1 or 2 good pros typically at a table, and then the rest will be mostly amateur players in the beginning. So you have that. So that really kind of levels the playing field for a lot of, like, you can be an amateur, you can go in and you can have a really strong fighting chance through many days and cashing and all that. And then you have the incredible structure. So even when you get into a difficult situation against a good professional, you can just throw your hand away and not risk your whole tournament on a spot that you don't know. And tournaments aren't really, if you play a lot of tournaments, most aren't like that. You have to take risks. You have to really get in there and gamble. And in the main event, you can really, as an amateur, you can just kind of coast by and avoid so many of those situations against the few tough players that you face.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, like I said, we just started. So if you're interested in taking your shot at, getting this main event seat, multiple seats, the highlighted comment.
I'd like to hear too in the comments section, if you guys have heard of any of the other scams that you think are interesting, or maybe you've been scammed in some way. Those are the kind of things that people can learn from them. So, it costs you a certain amount of money to get scammed. Potentially you're saving someone else some amount of money. So it's great to hear. So definitely throw those in the comments section.
Yeah, it can be definitely embarrassing. Like, I don't like admitting that I gave a scammer access to my chase, like, it's embarrassing, but maybe by me telling that story, it might prevent someone from getting scammed the exact same way in the future. So if that happens, it was definitely worth it. So thanks again for tuning in for episode number 7. So many more fun things coming up. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you in a poker room near you. Actually, I don't need to say that on this. This is like an Embrace the Grind. It has nothing to do with poker.
We might see you in the streets. We might see you in the poker room.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see you on YouTube soon. Take care.
I'ma give it all I got.